Hey guys, my name is Desiree and this is Criminally Focused. Whether you're new to my channel or you're a returning OG, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I truly appreciate your support and I'm happy you found me. Today we're going to be talking about a case that I'm following closely regarding missing Baltimore man, Darryl Wiggins. So you might have seen a video that I made previously on my channel regarding Darryl's disappearance. However, this was prior to having the opportunity to speak with his family. Since there isn't much information publicly available about him or what happened to him, having this opportunity to speak with the people who know him best was really helpful. The amount of love that his family shares was incredibly evident. If it's not obvious yet, Darryl and his family have a very special place in my heart. The more that I researched this, the more frustrated I've become. Me, it almost feels like they're brushing this under the rug. If you do a quick search on Google, you'll find that there's very little coverage on Darryl's disappearance, and I don't really understand why. The media, for some reason, has failed to report about it, despite the alarming details that are beginning to surface. In this video, I want to tell you more about Darryl Wiggins and what we know about the days leading up to his disappearance. What happened? What are the police doing? Are there any suspects? These are the questions that I had for his family, and now I want to share those answers with you. In the end of this video, we'll of course go over some ways that you can help Darryl's family, but we're also going to go over ways that you can keep yourself safe. Renting from a stranger can be kind of a dangerous situation, and there's certain key things that you can do to make sure it's a lot safer. As always, this video is not made for children. Viewer discretion is advised. Please always do your own research and form your own opinions. All right, so enough rambling. We've got an important story to talk about. So grab your coffee or whatever you're drinking or smoking and let's get right into it. So just to recap, Darryl was born on May 30th, 1989, making him currently 34 years old. He is the oldest of 3 siblings and has a younger brother and a younger sister. Darryl is described by his family as being incredibly loving and kind. Someone that would go out of their way to do something nice for somebody that he cares about. At one point, Darryl had a dog named Smokey, and they were basically inseparable. When Smokey passed, Darryl was devastated. He felt like they had been through a lot together and felt as though he had just lost his best friend.
Smoke. You eat it all? It's all gone? What's up, big boy? Let me try to get you. Shh. Making all that noise. Stop making all that noise.
When I was talking to his family, they told me about numerous times that Darryl went out of his way to help somebody or to do something kind for somebody that he cares about. There was actually one story in particular that stood out to me, and it was when his uncle came back to visit family in Baltimore. But while he's in town, his uncle was hoping to eat one of the city's most popular dishes, the steamed blue crab. According to Baltimore.org, you can't come to Maryland without trying this popular dish. So while he was in town, His uncle definitely had his heart set on eating some steamed blue crab. So knowing this, Darryl contacted all of the seafood restaurants in the area to see if they still had some available for the night. Being that it's incredibly popular, it sells out really quickly. And that night in particular, it took Darryl multiple tries to find a restaurant that still had some. According to Darryl's mom, when they arrived to the restaurant, unfortunately, the restaurant had stopped selling the steamed crabs for the night. The table next to them had arrived earlier, however, and had ordered some crab. So when they were finished, the customer had the last of their 6 crabs wrapped to take home and headed out of the restaurant. But Darryl didn't give up. He's resilient. Darryl followed them and politely asked if he could buy their crabs for the full cost of their entire order price. So needless to say, Darryl's uncle got to eat the steamed blue crabs that night, and the other customer walked away happy with a full belly and a wallet full of cash. Something else that's important to note about Darryl is that he's always had a very close relationship with his mom. They talked daily. So when she stopped hearing from him, that's when she started to feel like something was wrong. And it's because of this bond that people that know Darryl say that he would never worry his mom by cutting off contact with her. And this is why they don't believe he's done this willingly. Since Darryl also has no history of being in any major legal trouble, and he wasn't known to use any drugs, besides weed, if you want to even consider that a drug, which I don't. But for him to just up and disappear seems very unlikely. In the days and weeks leading up to Darryl's disappearance, he was looking for a new place to live. Moving, I'm sure, is something that we've all experienced at least once or twice in our lifetime, so we all know that kind of dreaded feeling of looking for a place to live that falls within our budget and is in the location that we're looking to move. One of the most common ways people look for a place to live is online. Whether they're using Facebook, Marketplace, Apartments.com, or even Craigslist, much of the search can be done online. And with rent getting more and more expensive, many people are resorting to finding rooms to rent. When faced with needing a new place to live, Darryl answered an ad for a room for rent at 604 Wyandotte Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. For the first few weeks, everything was fine. However, he soon started having issues with his landlord. Although the landlord is heavily suspected by some to be involved in Darryl's disappearance, he has never been named publicly as a suspect by law enforcement. Because of this, just to keep things ethical, we are going to call him Mr. Slum in this video. I know, Mr. Slum, that's kind of ridiculous, but I couldn't really think of anything better than that. So the tension between Darryl and Mr. Slum continued, and finally came to a head the day before Darryl disappeared. On September 1st, 2022, Darryl went home to find that the door to the room that he had been renting in the home off of Wyandotte Avenue had been removed, and so had many of his belongings inside the room. So, rightfully upset, in my opinion, Darryl went outside and called the police. The police came to the house, and family has said the body cam shows Darryl respectfully explaining to officers what had happened. The police recommended that Darryl file a case legally against his landlord and speak with a judge first thing in the morning. So, when morning arrived, he did just that. On September 2nd, Darryl filed a complaint with a judge. And after talking with the judge and being able to show proof that he had paid his rent, Darryl won the legal dispute and was allowed back inside the home. The judge said that he had the right legally to access this room because he had proof that he had paid for the month. I mean, I'm unsure really what the landlord had been thinking. Obviously, without going through these proper legal proceedings, a tenant can't just be kicked out of their home. As tenants, we have legal rights, and it's super important that we know them. I commend Darryl for taking the appropriate steps in court in order to fight for these rights. I mean, hell yeah. It must have been hard to handle the situation with such dignity and class, and from what I've heard, I feel like he did. So while he was on his way back home to the home on Wyandotte Avenue, he called his mom and told her the good news. He also told her that a friend had offered to help him put the door back on his room. They just needed the correct measurements to know what size door that they needed to purchase. His buddy offered to pick up the door from the store. However, Darryl just needed to send him a text with the measurements. So while Darryl headed home to do the measurements, Darryl's friend headed to the store and waited to receive the text from him telling him what size door to buy. He waited and never heard from Darryl. After several failed attempts to call or text Darryl, the friend decided to go back to the home off Wyandotte Avenue to see what was going on. And this is the part of the story that is hearsay. I don't know if the following information is true, as I haven't heard it directly from his family or spoken to the friend that we're talking about. But from what I've heard, Darryl's friend went back to the home and walked inside the home and down the hall to Darryl's room. And when he did this, he noticed that a new door was already placed on the door frame. So he tried to open it. The door was locked, so he went around the building so he could look inside Darryl's bedroom window. And when he looked inside, the room seemed to be under some kind of total renovation. Specifically, he noticed that the carpet had been removed. Now, like I said, this hasn't been confirmed by law enforcement or by Darryl's family. However, if it's true, that's super strange, right?
A Northeast Baltimore man has been missing since September of last year after he filed criminal charges against his landlord.
The mother of Darryl Wiggins says after he returned to his home he was renting on Wyandotte Avenue, he was never heard from again.
Stefan Dingle joins us now in the studio. And what are authorities, Stefan, saying about this case?
Well, Denise, just yesterday, Baltimore police and homicide detectives re-released this photo of Darryl Wiggins II, asking anyone to come forward with information about his disappearance. Now, with Mother's Day this weekend, each day, anniversary, and holiday leaves a bigger hole in the heart of his mother, Diana.
2 days from now is Mother's Day. And it's just another day that I don't get to speak to him. And at the end of the month is his birthday.
Darryl Wiggins II was last seen or heard from on September 2nd of 2022 at a home he was renting on Wyandotte Avenue in Northeast Baltimore.
He was supposed to meet a friend there, and the friend kept calling and never talked to him again.
But to understand Darryl's disappearance, we have to go back to his appearance at court to take action against his landlord. His mother says his things were removed from the home and the landlord changed the door. After going to court, they ruled in Darryl's favor and gave him documentation saying he had a legal right to stay there because his rent was paid. So Darryl called a friend to help him replace the door he was once locked out of.
Like I said, he was supposed to meet up with his friend later that evening to replace the door, and no one's ever heard from him again. He's not been active on social media. He never read any text messages. His phone was turned off on September 2nd.
And ever since that day, Diana Baines is trying to be hopeful. But as investigators work to figure out clues, she says as far as she's aware, they have yet to search the property her son was last seen or engage or contact the landlord whom Darryl had the rent dispute with in court.
Question them because it's their property, regardless of, what transpired, what didn't transpire, whether you were wrong, and you have to have known something about a person that was living in your house.
As Diana continues to urgently wait while holding on to hope, she wants the world to know her son is kind, selfless, or as she describes him, a give you his sandwich if you're hungry type of guy. If he is out there and can hear her voice, Diana wants her son to know this.
Baby, just call me, let me know that you're okay. It's hard not knowing where you're at, and it hurts.
Because this is an active investigation, police are unable to share any information with Darryl's family, which has led to some family members, understandably, feeling less than supported by the Baltimore PD. A vigil was held on November 20th, 2022 for Darryl, and although police said they would attend, they didn't. It has also been rumored that they never searched the property at 604 Wyandotte Avenue and have yet to even interview Mr. Slum. Again, I don't know if that is true, but what I do know is that it's coming on a year that Darryl has been gone, and the family has received zero updates regarding his disappearance and the investigation into it. Now, this isn't uncommon for police to leave families in the dark. We saw this in recent cases with like Brian Kohlberger and the Idaho murders. They do this because if the information gets into the wrong hands, that could be detrimental to the case. I guess I just don't understand why they couldn't share something with his family. As of now, it's been crickets. So I was able to find the name of the person that owns the property, like I said earlier, using public resources that are available to everyone. These resources also allowed me to look into the laws in Baltimore regarding renters' rights and the requirements of people who are renting out rooms in their homes. According to the Baltimore City website, people who are renting rooms within their homes are required by law to have these units inspected and licensed. This is to ensure that the units meet the basic safety requirements required by law. From all of my research, I was unable to find documentation that the home that Darryl was renting the room in was licensed by the city or county of Baltimore. And now, like I said, it's publicly available. Maybe go check it out. But from what I can see, and I'm definitely no expert, it seems like these rooms may have been being rented illegally. I've said it a couple times. I'm no expert, so Mr. Slum, don't come for me. This is my opinion. But this comes into play later when we're discussing ways that you can keep yourself safe when renting a room from somebody that you might not know.
So, as I stated earlier, Darryl's family could really use our help. In the comment section below, you will find my previous video linked, as well as the family's GoFundMe. A missing person investigation can wind up costing the family thousands of dollars. If you can contribute to their GoFundMe, please do. If you can't, totally understandable. Don't feel bad. There are other ways that you can help. As I stated earlier, you can help by sharing this video and reaching out to other creators to hopefully get this story more coverage. You can like and comment, sending encouragement to Darryl's family. That's a free way to help, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Now that we talked about Darryl's disappearance, let's go over ways that you can keep yourself safe when renting a room from somebody that you might not know. Please keep in mind, this is not at all victim shaming. I think Darryl did what most of us do, trust people that maybe he shouldn't have. I think it's an easy mistake to make, and we all can learn from this. If you're looking online for a place to rent, obviously renting from a management company or an apartment complex is probably your safest choice. However, for some, that's not possible. There's many reasons why some people aren't able to rent a room from a larger property like that, like apartment complexes. Maybe it's finances, or they have a breed of animal that's not accepted. Maybe it's because of a criminal history that might have happened many years prior, but because it's still on their record, it prevents them from renting from an apartment complex. For whatever reason, some find it easier to rent from private landlords. And that's fine and dandy, but it can be incredibly unsafe if certain steps aren't taken. And sadly, most of the time, they're not. I can only speak for myself, but for me, before researching into this case, these are steps that I never would have thought to take prior to moving into someplace. So if you're thinking about renting a room in the future from someone that you don't know, I want to show you the steps that you can take, they're easy, to keep yourself better protected. So the first tip, make sure that you always meet with your landlord. You can take, they're easy, to keep yourself better protected. So the first tip, make sure that you always meet with your landlord in person. If you have the money to pay to run a criminal background check, it might be helpful. You can do this by going to BeenVerified or TruthFinders.com. And finally, whether you're renting from a large apartment complex or renting a room in somebody's home, it's important to know your rights. In Colorado, we've got something called the Colorado Tenant Bill of Rights. It's a quick read. However, it's incredibly informative and can be very useful. Also, in many states, they offer legal assistance for low-income families or for people that can't afford it. So knowing where to find this financial help if you need it can also be very helpful. Okay, and I guess I have one final tip. Everything you do, get it in writing, and always get a copy of your signed lease. But like I said, I'm not a lawyer, and I would love to hear from you guys. Do you guys have any opinions on ways that you keep yourself safe when you're renting from either a room in somebody's home or from an apartment complex? Well, that's all I had for you guys tonight. If you're still watching this video, I appreciate it. Thank you. Remember to please keep it kind in the comment section, and I will continue to keep you guys updated. Until next time, guys, stay safe and stay focused. I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.